Hello, my name's Jason, and welcome back to I Have a Story. Today I'm going to talk about my children's mother's family. I'm not here to down them, put them down, or talk bad. I'm here to talk because the severe hazards and risks and dangers they impose on my little kids. Um, my family's not any better. They're just as dangerous, and that's why I knew better to make the judgment call as a parent and not allow them around my kids. As tough as that is, you can't have alcoholics driving around drunk with children in the car, right? So I'm here to talk about her family and the dangers that it really severely imposes on our children. Where do I start? I talk about the mental illness that their mother suffers from, especially like the bipolar. That, as a fact, is hereditary. It is clearly in the female side of her families. Her daughter is diagnosed with it and takes medication and gets treated for it. Her mom clearly has it, whether she's ever gone through any psychiatric evaluation. She's one that she don't think she needs any problems. She don't have any problems. She doesn't need any help. The woman needs more help as much as anybody. So it's clear that her mom has it, and her mom takes Xanax to try to cope. I hated it when her and her husband would come over. My kid's mom's family is her parents are divorced. So when her mom and her stepdad would come over, oh, let's go have guy time. And I hated guy time with that man. It was all it was a complain fest about his wife. That's all it ever was. Him complaining about her. She wants me to paint this whole garage door. It only needs a circle this big that's missing paint that needs painted. That's all I'm going to paint is just that circle. She wants me to paint the trim on the house. I'm not repainted. There's nothing wrong with it. And just lazy. But on top of lazy, he's a really messed up person. Um, so one, her mom thinks it's okay to alienate our children along with her daughter. In November, I finally start getting phone calls, and it's been 8 months since I got to talk to my kids. Talked to them but a couple times in 8 months. I mean, literally count on one hand. So my phone calls start back up. Her mom thinks it's okay to start out our phone conversation by bringing the kids new games to play so that they don't pay attention to me and they pay attention to their new games and they don't even know I exist on the phone. That's child abuse. You don't alienate kids. Alienating kids is child abuse, right in the state law. So I don't know the whole family history, but I know her mom and her stepdad were abusive enough that they had 3 kids, and 2 of them refused to even talk to him, period. The third, her daughter, refused to talk to her for many years. Mom had her arrested, and there's been a whole bunch of disputes and battles in that family. Um, so shortly before we moved here, and the reason we sold our house and moved when we did is before I got to know how bad all this was, um, our kids spent a day at Grandma and Grandpa's house. Um, Normally, I change our kids' clothes, and their mom dropped them off, went back that evening, picked them up, brought them home, and when I went to put the kids' pajamas on, their mom, and I could see the panic in her, but it was part of what she did. She panicked all the time. Um, just like these little panic attacks over nothing, and I never understood them, but I didn't need to. I just knew that she experienced them and try to help her. So she had a panic. Let me put their pajamas on. Let me change their clothes. Okay, I'll let you have that. A lot of times she had trouble coping with it. I was the stay-at-home dad, and I was the one taking care of the kids, not her. And she had a lot of problems with that role reversal. Um, it really upset her and hurt her. Uh, I was trying to get to a life where we were doing things together and we didn't have to live like that. Um, so I let her change, put the kids' pajamas on. I put them to bed that night like I always do. The next morning, I went to put their clothes on. And right as I'm taking their pajamas off, she comes and walks in the room and starts crying. And as I take our son's pajamas off, he's got bruises all over his body, his ankles, his legs, around right here. I asked what happened. She told me that when it was time to leave Grandma and Grandpa's last night, AJ dropped to the floor and didn't want to leave. Grandpa grabbed him by his ankles and dragged him across the floor, picked him up and squeezed him and shook him and screamed at him, set him on the floor, and when he got up and walked over to Grandma crying, Grandma told him, "Get away from her. He deserved what he got." That isn't how you treat a little kid who's a year and a half old. That's not how you treat a... God, this guy's what, 6'8", roughly 300 pounds to a 1-year-old little kid? I've seen this rage in him so many times, yelling at so many people, even me. These are the ones in control of my kids now. That's wrong. Completely wrong. So she told me she needed to get away from her family, and she never wanted to see them again, promised me our kids would never go there again. And I got people who can, I've got ways to prove this. I went to church, sat in a pew crying, and the pastor came out and talked to me, and I talked to him about it. There are ways to prove that story, even pictures. So that's why we sold the house and moved. But now these are the people in control of my kids, because she just goes and runs right back to them because she gets in this trouble with her mental state and what she does. And then she runs back to them because they take her in and take care of her. Why she goes to church, she's already told me that. She goes to church because those people will always take her in and take care of her. I can prove, I've got recorded conversations of her and I talking about her mental state in these episodes and why she does what she does and what she can think and what she doesn't think and all sorts of stuff. I actually loved that woman and tried to be the man to help her and listen and understand and do the best I could to help her. When you watch my preposterous PPO video, PPO order, I will show you proof of that. The morning she woke me up hitting me and threatening me, I got out of bed and didn't fight her back and went and picked her flowers twice and did everything I could to care for her and for our kids. And the next morning she runs off to the abused women's shelter claiming I was the one abusing her. And then I went months without seeing my kids again. I'm such an abusive man. I only ever got to have one trick or treat with my daughter, and that was her first trick or treat. Now you tell me, does an abusive man, I know my father would have never even attempted anything, let alone this. I dressed my daughter up as Tweety Bird and I made a pie pan out of a brown blanket and a pie pan and I put her in it and she was my Tweety Pie. God, I'm like the biggest hearted loving man there could be. But yet I keep getting blamed and accused and having my rights taken away and my kids will get away from me because I'm the bad person. I'd still today call her my Tweety Pie. I miss my little girl. Stop crying. So that's just a story on that side. Shoot, one day her dad wanted to take me out in the boat. They had a sailboat. I hadn't been in a boat in a long time. I love it. It's one of my favorite things. Being out on the water is my favorite place to be, or in the woods. Talked to him on the phone and said, "What time you want to leave?" "Oh, I'll be ready in a couple hours. I have some things to do." I know I recorded that conversation. My phone records every conversation I have because of so many reasons, a lot of which is doctor's appointments and not being able to document the stuff I need to with a lot of things. So the kids were actually taking a nap together and they were both asleep. And my wife needed me. She needed some comfort and she needed some time together, some peace, quiet time together. I still remember she sat down. We had one of those dual recliner couch love seat deals. She was sitting down. I got down on my knees on the floor and put my head in her lap and wrapped my arms around her. And then we just sat there and talked for about 45 minutes. She needed me. And that meant more to me than going out on a boat and having fun, because that's the horrible guy that I am. I was truly 110% dedicated to that woman and my family. I didn't have friends and I didn't go out and play. I felt guilty if I did. I just wanted to, I had what I wanted, a family. That was all I wanted. That was all I needed. I didn't go out with the guys. I didn't drink. I took care of my kids. Then when I found out who she was and what I was married to, my focus became totally on my kids and I turned away from her. And I'm not going to lie, I did that. Like I said, try to lay in bed with somebody that you know is cheating on you repeatedly and has a complete lifelong documented history of cheating on all the guys she's with. And you thought you were going to be the one to change all that. So I get to her stepdad and mom's house. I get out of my truck and he comes out just screaming and cussing at me. What the F took you so long? You don't want to F and go, then you can just F and stay. I just went nuts, screaming. Again, this guy's like 6'8", 300 pounds and deep voice and growls and just, I didn't deserve that. And I told him I was taking care of your daughter. What do you mean you're taking care of my daughter? She doesn't need your help, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, no, she needed some time. She was having a moment. We had a chance and I took care of her instead of going out and rushing over here. You said it was going to be a couple hours. I showed up an hour and 15 minutes later. I stopped at the gas station on the way to his house to get gas. Still remember that day. I never told you it was going to be a couple hours. I told you I was ready to go now. Well, I have this conversation recorded. You can't tell me it didn't happen. There's no reason to treat anybody like that. God, I'm so tired of people think it's all right just to yell at people. What in the world? I was taking care of your daughter. You should have been happy and proud, patted me on the back and said, that's the kind of man I want for my girl, right? Isn't that what you would say as a father? I know I would. That woman meant more to you than going out and having fun. No, I got my tail handed to me, though. Still went out in a sailboat with this man. I tucked it away, didn't fight, argue, whatever. That really upset you that much, I'm sorry. Went and sat on a boat in the middle of Lake Erie with a guy who's 6'8", 300 pounds who just screamed at me like that, like for what? For taking care of his daughter. During guy talk, stories about his wife overdosing on pills and doesn't know where she gets them from and takes too many pills, and all these stories about, oh, we pull into the parking lot and I walk into the carry out and I come back out and she's yelling at people in the car next to her, calling them an F and N word and screaming at them. And then we go to the park to take the dog for a walk across the street and I'm scared these black people are going to come and shoot me. The hell? What is that? Do you think I want that anywhere near my children? Not only the language, the mentality, the mindset, or the possibility of what could happen in the situation of doing that. These people are just whack. So every time they started coming to our house, I'd disappear. I just I don't want nothing to do with this anymore. This is insanity. I'm not afraid to walk away. I'm sorry, there's certain lines you just, once you cross certain lines, I just know you're not, no. Don't want nothing to do with it. So on her dad's side, bunch of drunken alcoholics. Here's a prime example. 1 week before my daughter was born, I'm in the hospital and I had to have my colon and my intestine reconnected. Section of my intestine removed, another organ removed, some other things. I don't even remember what all they did on that one. So much was going on inside my body. I lost my business and a whole lot of stuff happened when that happened. So the night I got it, I'll tell you how strong I am and how tough and how much desire I have. After they did that surgery, I remember waking up, the nurse was rolling me into my room. and I was just waking up. And as she was plugging in the monitors, she said, most people start walking on day 3. You have to start walking within 3 days, and then 3 days from there, you go home. I said, well, what are you doing plugging in those monitors? Let's start walking. She looked at me and said, Jason, you just woke up from surgery. You don't just get out of bed and walk. I looked at her and said, will it hurt me? I don't know. I've never had anybody walk on the first day, let alone the minute they wake up. Well, then let's start walking. You said the sooner I walk, the sooner I go home. God, I've spent so much time in hospital beds and doctor's offices, and it's like a jail for me. And laying and just being stuck in my own bed. Any moment I can get up and move, I'm moving because I've spent too much time not even being able to in my life. I'm going to share those stories, and hopefully it'll inspire other people who suffer from injuries and problems that I have to continue to fight and not just lay and do nothing. Lay and do nothing, you just rot away. Can't do it. So, yeah, I remember I got out of bed and started walking. I was walking down the hallway, went past the nurse's station. What are you doing out of bed? I'm going home. You can't go home. I said, she told me the sooner I start walking, the sooner I go home. My wife's at home pregnant right now, and she's about to give birth any day now, and she needs me. I don't want to lay here. I need to get home. I kid you not, the day I got home, I'm in hauling wood and throwing it in the fireplace. My son's going, Dad, what are you doing? And I'm not one to sit. And God, you know anybody who's had as much pain in their life as I have? I don't feel it like most people do because I've felt so much of it. So part of why I'm here to share my story is because I found that it helps other people when they think that they're really struggling to hear another story that's makes them not feel so bad about their situation. So she comes and picks me up, brings me home from the hospital. She goes to take our son over to her dad's house. She walks in the door and her dad goes to get out of the chair, and he's so drunk that he hit face first on the floor and couldn't stand up and even get into the chair on his own. She had to help him into his chair. But it's okay to watch a 1-year-old son, and that was how you're preparing yourself. So she calls stepmom. Mom, where you at? Dad's about passed out, laid out on the couch. Oh, mom's not answering the phone. Brother answers the phone. Yeah, mom's so drunk she face planted in the parking lot in his apartment complex. And she thought it was okay that she couldn't even walk. She was so drunk. This is grandparents. I mean, we're not even talking about 22-year-old. This is grandma and grandpa. I'm gonna try and find the pictures from when my daughter was born because she had bruises on her face, her arms, her legs from face planting in a concrete parking lot trying to get home to watch her 1-year-old grandson. They think it's okay. They don't even I mean, you're in your 60s, you don't even realize that it's not okay to drink and drive, let alone to get to the point to where you face plant, can't walk, but you still think it's okay to drive, to go and think it's okay to take care of little children. My dad and I wouldn't be any different, but again, my dad, I know better. He has never met my kids, and that is a small reason. I mean, it's a big reason to not let him see them, be around them, have them. But it's one of the many reasons. That's why I say small, because there's a lot. He's an abusive, just selfish man. They're not a part of their life. Um, she doesn't know any better. I mean, she actually does, but she refuses to follow it because she needs them to protect her. She has no safety net to fall back to, and that's why she goes back to the abuse that she takes from them. Is because that's her safety net. She knows she goes through these episodes and does what she does, and she needs somebody to fall back to. So she allows them to continue abusing her and continue to abuse our children because she don't care about the kids. I can play you recordings where it's not about the kids, it's about her. The kids do not come first with her. It's about her. She comes first. And if you don't put her first, she will hurt you. That's what she's doing to me now. That's what she's been doing for a very long time. So this family is not what is best for my children by any means. It's extremely dangerous, extremely dangerous. They smoke pot and drink right in front of kids. Their language alone is not what I want my kids raised around and to hear. And children become what their environment raises them to be. I don't want them to think that's okay. I rarely drink ever, hardly ever. And big reason was because I was married to a woman who blames me and abuses me and blames me for abusing her and all of that. And I'm kind of like calling cops and 911. And I can't drink. I've told doctors and for years, they said, hey, you can't have your pills anymore because she was stealing your pills, which again can be proven. She was stealing your pills and you quit taking your medications and your pain pills and taking care of that because you loved her more than the pills and you didn't want her to keep feeding those. I mean, she took 3 months worth of Norcos, 2 weeks worth of morphine, several months worth of tizanidine, all in a 2 week time period while she was breastfeeding our daughter. Nobody will ever know what that ever did. I mean, they say, oh, that she's lived, she'll be fine. There's no way to tell what that ever did to her, what chemistry changes. I mean, that's when they're the most vulnerable. Nobody will ever know. Part of why you just don't do things like that, especially when it comes to children. I am so sorry, babies. I'm sorry you've ever been put in this mess. I want to get them out of it. I love my kids and they don't deserve this. They don't. And again, when I'm going to do a whole entire video to keep these short and between our two families alone, it shows exactly the environment raising children to be like the vibe. It shows that just that. So I need to get my kids out of there. My kids don't deserve to get in a car accident, don't deserve to die, don't deserve any of the things that could ever possibly happen out of any of the scenarios that all of this. I mean, there's just so much, and they just need out of it. I'm a parent who actually spent time with my kids. You ask anybody, when anywhere we went, everywhere. I went to the library where they did story time at the library, and I was involved with story time. I didn't just sit back. There was a mom week after week who always just hid in a corner on her phone. Her kids climbing the window, taking stuff off the teacher, if you want to call it. The woman running the program has to take care of her kid and stop him from doing all this stuff. And her kid's the only one acting out like that, and mom doesn't step up and do anything. She'd rather just hide in a corner and sit on a phone and not take care of her kid. I'm going to be talking a lot about that because I've seen so much stuff that I just couldn't even believe. Um, I spent time with my kids. Again, my oldest son, when I went through my divorce, I volunteered at his school as a teacher's aide. I did so good that they gave me my own classroom, and I started going in 5 days a week in my own classroom as a volunteer teacher because I did so good with kids. I am wonderful with kids. It's honestly one of my blessings. I've got curses and I have blessings. We all do. Places I excel extreme. Places I fall flat on my face. Children's one of my gifts. I'm amazing with kids, and I'll be telling stories about things I've done with kids that, again, professionals couldn't. I really am gifted in many ways. Now I need to use my gifts to get my kids and use my gifts on them. I'm asking you to please help me fight for them. I don't want them in any of these scenarios that is invoked in these situations that they're in. Part of why I moved here was to get away from all of it and the mind, just thoughts and driving around town and the memories that I'm going to be sharing with you that I drive through town and hey, I remember that happening there and so lived there. I always lived near my grandpa so I could take care of him, and he'd call me in the middle of the night and I'd have to go to his house and get him off the floor, and driving past his neighborhood just always hurt. And I lived right neighborhood next to his. So it was part of moving here was peace of mind of putting all that behind me and starting fresh and starting over again. Raising my children in a healthy environment. This is one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen. I've got some complaints and some things that I'd like to see change. I guess we can say that in just about anywhere. So we get to start our own kingdom. Um, But we'll be talking a lot about the health reasons and the safety reasons of why I moved here. But right now I need to get my kids, get them back here where they are safe, with a father who loves them and misses them, and one who took care of them and was kind to them. I'm asking you, please help me fight to get them back. It's been a year and a half since I've got to be with my kids, a year and a half. I can undeniably prove, undeniable, that I was the innocent ones and that she was the one that verbally and physically abused me for years, verbally and physically abused my children. I can obviously prove I sought the help that I sought, and I can obviously prove that I can prove my cases and the systems didn't care and still sided with her. Again, I'm not even allowed to go to a school function of my kids because why? I deserve answers and I need to know why. Because I'm a man, but I'm told I'm not supposed to be prejudiced, I'm not supposed to be racist, I'm not supposed to be sexist, but yet I'm treated with racism and sexism, and I'm going to be talking about those. This is insanity. It's all insanity to me. I'm not a racist or sexist person. I love people. I'm one of the greatest persons you'll meet. I really love people. I mean, ask anybody around. I just drive around and talk to people. It's one of the things I love about living here. There's a lot of tourism here. And people are here to have fun and not, they're here to have fun. And it's fun to sit with, meet new people, hear some stories, where they're from and their life. And some of them have been amazing. And I'll share some of those because they really have been amazing. I found some beautiful people with some beautiful stories and some really tremendous and amazing stories. And I'll share some of those. That's why we're here. I have a story and I have a lot of stories. Um, I mean, I'm such a terrible person. When COVID hit our town, I went to the grocery store and said, here's my number. We have a lot of elderly people here and a lot that elderly people that don't have anybody. And I said, people get sick, they need their supplies. There's a lot of elderly people who can't physically come to the store and this COVID's laying them out. I said, I will come to the store if you're willing. And then we live in a small town, so it wasn't going to be overwhelming. And um, they don't normally have the curbside service type stuff there. But I said, if people call with necessity orders, will you allow them pay over the phone, gather the items? I'll pick them up for you, put them on their porch, and I'll do this free of charge. It's just a service I want to provide to my community. They thought it was wonderful. I do a lot of things like that, and I think about my community, the people around me, and especially my family and my loved ones. And it's wrong that I've been treated the way that I have been, and I'm asking to help me fight back against this because this is wrong, and I'm tired of it. I'm here to fight for my kids, fight for my rights, and clear my name from all the wrong that's been happening. I don't even have as much of as a speeding ticket since what, 1999-ish, when I was a kid. I was probably about 20 when I got my only speeding ticket in my entire life. I don't deserve this, and neither do my kids, and I want my kids back. So I'm asking you to help me please fight and please listen to my story. There's going to be several videos to finish this up, and now I'm working on it. I need to get it out there, and I need the help. I need these systems to change. I'm tired of them just siding with one side because it's easiest and they don't have to listen to it. I can sit there and just daydream and, yep, you're good. You're bad. That was easy enough. It's wrong for the kids. It's wrong for the innocent victims in all this, especially in my case where, and other cases that I've seen that I'll be sharing with you, just absolutely horrendous. And I don't understand how they can get away with it. So I'm here to fight back against this, and try to stop it because people, kids, we wonder why society is turning out worse and worse and worse. Right here's, right here's a very simple start to a solution. Get the systems to do their job properly. That's where it starts. And what do kids learn when they watch people get away with bad stuff? Even my oldest son, when he was like 10, said, Dad, I know what mom's doing is wrong. Why are the police and the cop and the courts siding with her? How do you even answer that to a 10-year-old kid and be honest even? Because I'm a man, boy. Get used to it. It's wrong. But I'm supposed to keep my head straight. I wonder why so many people are doing so many bad things. I know I've done bad things myself, and I will be sharing those with you in the future because that's what I'm here to do. Lay it out for you. Um, I'm not perfect. There's just certain lines once I get pushed to that. My first marriage, I didn't know how to fight back. And in the physical state I was in and everything that had happened to me, I couldn't. And it hurt so bad I turned to drugs. People were just giving them to me. One of the things about having a brother who's a drug dealer, I turned it down forever for many, many, many years. And then all of a sudden, I caved. I gave in. I don't care anymore. Now I'm doing it different. And that's why I'm doing this. Because I didn't have this back then. I have this now, and this opportunity. And it's the only opportunity I know how to take and that I can see available in my position. So that's why I'm doing this. Because nobody else wants to help me. I have one woman, but she can only do so much. She's my counselor, and she's amazing. My advocate, what she did for me was amazing, but they can only do so much. So I'm asking for your help. Um, I'm not going to give up hope, and I'm not going to give up fighting this time. When I actually started getting back on my feet before, I was told I wasn't allowed to fight for my son from my previous marriage because my wife didn't want me to. I even recorded her mom telling me I need to let my son go. The only thing that matters is her daughter and the children we have and her kids. That's all that matters. Your kid doesn't matter. Let him go, or else you can hit the road. I'm taking you to a psych ward. You can get out. No, you're not ever tell your another parent to give up their kids. But I didn't have a choice. I hit the floor in this lady's living room crying. I was doing furniture assembly and something came on the TV and I hit the floor crying. And she said, "Boy, why are you crying?" I'll tell you what, I don't know what it was in that time period. Very short time period, I met two people who were actually true African Americans. They were born and raised in Africa and moved here, and they were two of the coolest people I've met in a long time. Um, they actually both gave me their number, and we stayed in communications after I was done with my job. And she ended up being a psychologist for the university there in town. And this is what broke me. She said, "It's not right that you have to make that choice, but you have a newborn baby and you have a 1-year-old son. Your other son, he's 16. You can't fight for that if you're not. You got to choose which one's most important, the babies or your son who's almost an adult." And as painful as it was, and I cried and cried, God, did I cry? I still cry over it because I loved my son Alex, and he has no respect for me because of exactly what I'm here to fight for now. Exactly, a mother who demonized me. I mean, God, when you hear the stories, because I'm going to do a video, when you hear the stories about the stuff she did, and now this one, no one knows, is pulling the same stuff in the same footsteps because she knows the pain that it puts me in. But she's so scared of me, right? She's so scared of me, but yeah, she's going to push every button she can, including committing felonies, and I'll get to that later. I got to wrap up this video. So I'm asking to help me fight for my kids. You tell me, do you think adults who are in their 60s should be drinking and driving with children, or should be drinking to the point where they're falling flat on the ground, not able to stand up and go, I could take care of kids? A man who's 6'8", 300 pounds, give or take ish, big, and thinks it's okay to abuse a 1-year-old little kid. I had to bite my tongue and not. As a dad, as a man, you hurt my babies. You even hurt my wife. We're made, it's instinct to want to attack back. I know better, and I step back. I never even as much said a word, just refused to talk to him. And we didn't talk to him until it came time to leave. And all of a sudden, we got to say goodbyes. Are you kidding me? I thought we weren't talking to these people no more. Oh, yeah, that's right. Need the safety net. So even after we moved, she's fallen back there 2 years in a row. promised me would never take the kids there again. They're so abusive. They're terrible people. I can even show you in text messages repeatedly how bad they are. All of them, everyone. And now that's where they're back again. Please help me fight and get them out of there. Please, I'm begging you. I love my kids and I miss them and I want them back.